Amanda Fugate here, and today I want to talk about health. Now, I realize health is a large topic, so today I'm going to talk about mental health, and in the next video I'll talk about physical health, all right? And the way I want to start is I want to ask you, have you ever been on an airplane? If you've ever been on an airplane, you know that they say in case of an emergency, an oxygen mask is going to drop down from the ceiling, place it on yourself, and then place it on your child, right? Well, that's how I think about teaching. I think about teaching as that in order for me to be the best version of myself, I need to make sure that I'm healthy mentally. So before the kids even come in, I make sure that I am priming myself, I'm getting myself ready. I'm motivating myself, I'm making sure my energy's up, I'm positive, I'm focused, so that when the kids do come in, that I can completely put my attention on them. And when they come in, a lot of times I don't know the kids, especially with subbing, so I'm learning about them by their body language. How do they walk? How do they talk? How do they interact? How do they treat each other? How do they treat me? That gives me an idea of what I'm working with for the day so that I can focus and I can put together in my head, I can put together a plan of how I'm going to work with the group of kids. So I want to ask you, if you remember what exactly you were doing on Friday when they announced that COVID was happening, that things were closing down, take a second and think about that. Where were you? What kinds of things were going through your head? What was happening with your job? Were you already working from home, so it was no big deal, you just transferred over? Or were you working at a job where you had to drive to, and then all of a sudden you had to learn all these new skills to be able to perform your job in your house? Or did you lose your job? A lot of people lost their jobs, right? What kinds of things were you feeling? What kinds of emotions were you feeling? What was going through your head? Now, all of that energy, were you thinking about safety? Were you thinking about safety of your family? What you were going to have to do to protect your family, right? All those things are going to help you, are going to give you emotions, they're going to give you feelings. And those feelings and those emotions, whether you say them or not, they rub off on your kids. And your kids pick up on that. They pick up on that energy. They pick up on that vibe, right? And that's all part of mental health. And so when you're working with your kids, I would highly recommend getting into a state where you feel like you're upbeat, you're happy, you're energized as much as you can, so that you can give off the positive vibes. And the kids pick up on that. Okay? Now, I'm going to share some things that I use that have helped me to get into a positive state, because I know when COVID was announced, it was on a Friday, I was subbing at a school, I was working with the kindergarten, it was completely chaos in the sense that the poor office staff was short-staffed, there were a lot of teachers that didn't show up, about a third of the kids didn't show up, so they had a lot of people out that day. And then on top of it, they were getting frequent announcements from the district. So they would come on to the intercom and they would mention things that we needed to do with the kids. They would make announcements to the kids. They told us about having to move furniture and get it ready so that it could be sprayed while they were gone. They also let them know that there would be, they would have so many days off, that there was a break that was about to happen. And then later on, you know, through the news, I found out that Governor Brown came on and said that the extension had been extended, that it was going to be a longer period before we were back in the schools teaching. And then after that, then she came on and said that schools were canceled, that nobody was going to be going to school, to the physical schools anymore, that everything was going to be moved online, right? Now for me personally, that threw me into a dark space. That just the whole job situation, on top of the fact that I was watching the news all the time. I was trying to figure out what was going on along with everybody else. And then I was also on social media a lot trying to figure out what was going on. And all of that together was pulling me down. It was pulling down my energy. It was pulling me into a dark place. And I knew that I had to take some massive action. I had to turn it around to get back to positivity and to get back to focus. So some of the things that I did, the first thing that I did was that I started turning off my phone at 8 p.m. That way I knew that I could sleep better because I wasn't sleeping really well in the beginning, right? And then I was watching something, and I think it was Dean Graziosi came on, and he gave this great suggestion. I didn't even think about it before, but turning your phone on airplane mode at nighttime. So that's what I do now. After a certain period at night, I turn my phone on airplane mode, and then I kind of detach from everything that's happening and all that energy, and I'm able to relax, I'm able to pull myself back together, and then I have a restful night's sleep. And then the next day when I come out, then I get my morning routine done, and then I turn the airplane mode off, and that's when I start interacting with the world again on my phone. That helped tremendously. Also what I did was I stopped watching the news. I knew that if I needed information, and I pretty much check up quite a bit, I could go online and I could read about it. That helped me rather than hearing live news of things that were happening. That was a great tool for me. Another great tool was that I limited myself on social media. I go on to social media and I go on for specific reasons. I might spend, 10, 15 minutes on my page or scrolling and finding positive stories and putting them on my page, unless it's something that I feel strongly about. Then I might share something that might be considered controversial. But I would only spend a short amount of time. And when I'm on social media, I'm usually looking for Zoom links that people have sent for meetings or classes, or I'm on specific groups where I know that I'm going to be feeding my soul, I'm going to be feeding my mind, I'm going to be learning things, I'm going to be in an area where I can encourage people and they can encourage me and we can work together, right? That's really helped me tremendously. Another thing that's really helped me is I knew that I needed to go back to the basics. When I work in the classroom, I always make sure I have a really good book. I make sure that I have something that motivates me and helps me. I like to read things that are autobiographical. I like biographies. I like things that educate me, things that entertain me, but they're things that feed my mind and they help me to get stronger. So I knew during this COVID time that immediately I said, okay, I need to start reading again. I need to feed my mind. And as an example, while I was substitute teaching, whenever the kids go into deer time, which is drop everything and read, I would always pull out a book and I would read alongside of them. And you know that they're looking at you, they're paying attention on occasion. And I knew that as long as I stayed focused on my book and I read, I could see in my peripheral vision that they'd immediately start looking down and they'd start reading again. Because again, I was modeling for them. I can't tell you how important modeling is. A great book that I read was called Einstein and the Rabbi. I loved this book. I found it really educational. I found it very informative and inspirational. And so, as you know, with kids, when you're reading and stuff, they always, what are you reading? What are you reading? And I tell them, oh, I'm reading a book where I'm learning a piece of history and it's teaching me something and it's helping me to grow as a person and to learn about other cultures and learn about things that are happening or that happened in the past, right? So again, that's another way that you're encouraging them. You're giving them a tool to help them expand their horizons where they go, oh, I want to do that, right? So I'm going to put a bunch of links. These are books. I just laid out some books that I read. I'm also spiritual, so I like to read spiritual books, so there's a spiritual book there. But I find it very, very useful. As long as I keep feeding my mind, I know I'm growing. And as long as you're doing it and you're modeling it and the kids can see it, they're growing too, right? Because they're going to copy you. They're going to copy your actions. So that's something that really helped me to get out of that dark place. Something else that really helped me, I was big, even when I was subbing, I was big on meditation. I did the Kirtan Kriya, I think it's called Kirtan Kriya, which is a great rhythmic meditation. It takes, I do the short version where it took 11 minutes. I'd utilize this when I'd have a break from the kids or when I was on lunch break. and you meditate, you listen to the words and you meditate, or you can create your own words. I like to create what I'm meditating on, what I'm thankful for. By the end of that 11 minutes, you feel so relaxed, and then you feel this burst of energy, or at least that's what I always felt. And it helped me tremendously with the kids with the second half of the day. And it's just a meditation where you just go with your fingers. It's like 4 is sa ta, I think na ma or something. And you just go with your fingers and you just keep doing that. So you have something, a physical stimulation there, as well as an auditorio, because you're listening. And it's great. Another meditation that I found that's really, really good, there's a man named Master Ko who does these meditations twice a day. I know on Facebook he does them. He's doing them on Instagram and stuff too. They're at 10 a.m., 6 p.m. on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They're taped, so you can go on, you can watch them, and you can meditate with them. And he's helping well, you can go on and look at his website. I'm including the link. And you can see what his message is for the world and what he's trying to accomplish. And I just find it very, very inspirational. That helps me. A third thing that I added since COVID is that I go walking every morning. I like to walk. I like to get that energy going. I also find it very beneficial in the sense that I like to talk to people. I put myself out there, even if I don't really feel like I should be, like I really care to talk to somebody. I put myself out there and I make sure I talk. I'm smiling, I'm saying good morning to people. If they respond, it's great. Sometimes you get a little conversation going. Sometimes they don't respond, and that's okay too, because it's just about making sure that I'm connected with the world, that I'm not isolated and stuck in my little area without communicating with people. It's still, that interaction still needs to happen occasionally, right? And then also what I do is I take my phone and I have on there, I have an app. I found during this time that when I was getting into a funky place, I wanted to find inspirational stuff. And so I discovered Tony Robbins online. I had never heard of him. I know a lot of people had. I personally hadn't. So I started listening to him. He has so many videos on YouTube. I was listening to one after the other, and I ended up buying a few of his books, and I read one of them already. I'm on my second one that I'm reading, and I find him so inspirational. He's really helped me. So that's another thing that's really helped. He has a great friend named Dean Graziosi, who also is very inspirational. He has a podcast going on. I think Tony has a podcast too. But they're pumping information out there. They're pumping things that are encouraging people and that are giving messages, which are great. You know, they're trying to help heal. And I find that of value to me, and that helps me refocus so that when I do go back into the classroom, that I'm going to be able to stay out of that dark funk, and I'm going to be able to go toward the positive. And again, I would stress, try to get into that positive frame as much as you can. Oh, and so on my phone, when I go walking, I put one of Tony Robbins' apps on there. He has some apps. And I put one where you can listen to his podcasts and you can listen to messages that he's talked about and that he's given. So good. It keeps me focused. It keeps me grounded. It also gives me energy so that I can make it through the rest of the day with all the other things that I have to get accomplished for the day. And it works so, I mean, I can't stress enough that you want to get into that proper mindset where that the more you're positive, the more you're upbeat, the more energy you have flowing, that's going to all transfer to the kids, right? And it's going to help you with educating them, all right? Now, as far as the kids go, kids, as I mentioned on the previous video, they need to feel understood. That's what I've learned so many times. They need to feel understood. They need to feel listened to. They want to know that you care and that you're actually listening to them, right? So that was something that was really, really important to me when I was teaching. I always made sure I gave the kids time, whether it was at lunchtime having a couple kids come up for lunch, where they could talk and they could giggle and, you know, tell you all their little stories that they're great. Or whether it was giving them some time after school if you're tutoring or whatever, just showing them that you're listening to them, that you're hearing them. I do that before school all the time with substitute teaching. I sit there and I ask them questions. How are you doing? What's going on? Do you have a good story to tell me? And a lot of times it breaks the ice. It gets the kids motivated. That was something that was always really important to me, and I utilize it all the time. So listen more, speak less, really get to know the kids, what their mindset is, especially if you're working with a group. Obviously, if it's your own child, it's going to be a little bit different. Things that have helped me in the classroom, I know that I am a big fan of Pete's Dragon, the original. I used to show that every year, and there's a song in it called There's Room for Everyone, and I always thought that that was like the key, the golden key of that movie. I loved it, and I would show them that every year. I'd show them the video, and then we'd have a discussion about it. And then after the discussion, then with teaching, you need rubrics of the kids writing throughout the year. So I would use that as my beginning of the year writing sample. And I would ask them a series of questions. Why do you think they put There's Room for Everyone into the film? Why do you think they put that song in there? Why do you think it's so important? Right? Why do you think they made this film? What's the message of the film? What are they trying to get across? What are they trying to say? And then I would allow the kids to share. I'd allow them to stand up and share if they wanted to share what they wrote. Or if they didn't want to, a lot of times, especially at the beginning of the year, they're a little more shy, a little more conservative. So I'd allow them to share with their buddy, their elbow buddy, right? Great way to break the ice, great way to get the year going, great way to get the kids thinking about groups and how teamwork and how we have to work together. Another tool that I totally utilized was a song called Don't Laugh at Me. I heard it for the first time in high school. There was a man that came in and did a presentation in our high school, played the guitar and sang it, and it was absolutely beautiful. I utilize that song every year. Again, I will include the link. But what I would do is I'd print out the lyrics, and I put the lyrics, one lyric on each child's desk. And then I'd use that as the beginning of the year song, or the song for like a week or a week and a half, where the kids would come in and the first thing they would do is they'd hear that song and we'd sing that song. And kids, if there's anything I've learned, kids love to sing. Even if they say they don't love to sing, if they're in a group of other kids and everyone's singing, they join in, I'm telling you, and they have so much fun. I've experienced that time and time again. I don't believe any kid that tells me they don't like to sing. But maybe there's one out there, I haven't met one. But so utilizing that where it's a song about talking about, you know, you can hear I'm going to post the link so you can see the song itself, the lyrics, or listen to the song. But it's about that we're all the same. We all have our different obstacles we have to overcome. But in the end, we're all the same. We all have the same main objectives, right? Or we have the same things that we want to focus on. And in a classroom, that's so incredibly important with community and building community, that they know that we're all after the same objective. We want to strengthen our classroom and have a positive learning environment. We want to work together and not put each other down, because that's going to help us, and that's going to help us learn, and that makes it fun, right? And when school's fun, kids want to go to school. Yeah? So those are just some tips. Sorry, I was being a little goofy. But those are just some tips with things that have helped me with my mindset. Those are things that have helped my kids, that I've taught and educated. And even when I'm subbing, I've used some of the tools. And I hope they help you. Again, I'm going to be including them. I have everything on my website, because I'm including links and supplements and other things. So if you're interested, I hope you've checked out my website. If you haven't, go onto it. It's www.amandafugate-moss.com. And then there's a link, I believe it says educational videos or educational training videos. You'll see it at the top. Go onto that page. that page, and then I'm going to continue on with other pages because there's a lot of information to cover. And like I said, I'm including a lot of links. I'm including things that I think are going to help you, that are going to help you strengthen you while you're educating your kids, and they're going to help your child have a stronger education, right? So I truly hope this has helped you. If you have any feedback, make sure you give me feedback. If there's anything I haven't covered, you want me to cover, let me know. Again, I'm here to help you. I'm here to assist you, and I want you to be successful. And your kids to, you know, especially with this crazy time, that they need to have good, strong, solid education, and a fun one, right? So make it fun. All right, thank you.